Hey, all, Marcus with MarcusBlanketship.com. Hey, I wanted to introduce this video. This is Jerry and I talking about writing. So we're going to cover many parts of writing, including his Fieldstone method, which he explains and teaches in his book, Weinberg on Writing. Highly recommended book. I'm using it to write a book right now. And in this video, I have some very particular questions for him about gathering fieldstones, polishing fieldstones, assembling them, the the organizing principle, some of that stuff. So I think this video will be especially interesting to you if you write, either you want to write a book or you write longer form things. This could include reports, documentation, maybe even longer requirements, because the Fieldstone method is an excellent way of capturing ideas at all time of the day. And I'm excited to share this with you. Jerry was kind enough to chat with me, and so we want to make sure that you have it as well. Thanks. And again, if you like this, please share it on social media, all that good stuff. Subscribe to the channel. I'm so glad that Jerry's health is better and we're able to do these shows again. Okay, now we're on to it. Thanks.
And I like that you showed the book. You show it again. Maybe this will be an ad for my books.
I hope so. This is a marvelous book. This is my testimonial. Marvelous book. Buy it today. So, but in this book, so one thing I realized, the book is about gathering fieldstones as a metaphor for writing a larger work, something probably larger than a paragraph. It seems like would be maybe a good way to describe it. But you say books, articles, reports, things like that.
Yep.
So in the book, I've realized that the primary place thus far I have gathered fieldstones is as I drive, I think, and that thinking is oftentimes recollecting situations, thinking about my past, asking myself questions that seem interesting. And I definitely am at the phase right now where I record almost everything. If I find a stone, even if I don't have a lot of energy about it, I think, oh, one more stone. It's almost like I'm learning to code, and I'm very excited when I can get any piece of code to work, whether or not it contributes to the problem at hand. Does that make sense?
Yes. So you record these while you're driving?
I do. I use Siri, and I send myself emails, long rambling emails where I talk, and I try and make roughly one per idea. So sometimes as I'm driving, I'll make 6 or 8 emails to myself through talking to my phone.
Okay. It's okay, whatever way you do it. I mean, like you have that. I've done that. I don't drive a lot now, so used to do that. Now you made the mistake. Well, let's see. I made the experiment of trying to actually dictate articles, for example, or chapters while doing that, and then transcribing it later. But I found that my style of writing is very different from my style of speaking. And I didn't particularly like my speech transcribed in everything. But then when I realized I'm just capturing the idea, it doesn't matter the words. I don't have to be careful about the wording as long as I capture the idea. Then later, when I'm not driving a car, I'm sitting in my right environment, and I can translate it into some written word that works. Okay. And I have used various methods. People tell me, well, I can't capture my fieldstones because I'm driving or I'm doing this or I'm doing that. And I teach people to keep, keep cards with them, right? That they can transcribe. But if you're driving, of course, you don't want to be writing.
Not too much.
And you want to be a little careful about even the dictating. I mean, talking on the phone while you're driving. So you might have to pull over and stop for a moment. But I even, I had a guy tell me, well, I can't do it because I get my best ideas in the shower. And I showed him, and I could show you, I keep in my shower a diver's pad, which is a slate with a special pencil,
Mm-hmm.
right underwater.
I remember, and you in your book, so you have a wonderful rule in your book that you need to strive to be able to capture an idea within 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And so I carry these little 2x2 note cards and at least one pen. I like that you carry two pens.
You ought to have two pens for sure, because if your one pen runs out, and then your idea is gone.
Right.
So I'm a little short because I only got three here right now. But that's, and I did that thing. I gave away, the good thing was giving away the pen to a nice lady who was doing some medical tests on me. And she admired my pen, because one of the rules I have when I'm in another advantage to this is when I'm in a hospital or a clinic, I never use their pens, because that's where sick people gather and spread their germs or whatever it is that's making them sick.
True.
She told me, she saw my pen, she liked it, and I offered it to her and she took it. And she has another solution to that. She keeps alcohol wipes, and every time somebody uses a pen, she wipes it down.
Very nice.
Yeah, so it's an example, a number of examples of problem solving, how you say, I can't do so-and-so, and haven't figured out a way to do it. Well, somebody says, I'm making love to my girlfriend, and I get an idea. What do I do? Well, okay. So there are higher priority things, and you could let that idea go. And I mean,
that's right.
Part of it is that what I realized, I don't know when this was, a long time ago, that you have an idea and then you forget it because you get distracted by something. If it's really a good idea, it will come back.
Yeah.
So you don't have to spend a lot of time worrying about it.
I do try now. So I have next to my bed, pen and paper. In my pocket, pens and little note cards. In my phone, I'm either dictating or I'm using a little app just to, which actually syncs with my computer to write little notes about Fieldstones. I have done what you suggested and purchased a journal, which I like, and a pen that I enjoy. I bought 3 different pens, and the ones I didn't like, I put in the common pen drawer so other people can use them. So now I am thinking more about writing, and I have lots of now stones, some dirt, some cruft, and of course I have this problem now. I have them in my email, I have them in my cards, I have them on my computer, I have them next to my bed, and nothing is really organized or making sense. And I'm starting to realize that is my next task, is to say, how do I go back through? What should I do with these? Is it just about putting them in one place? Is it also about evaluating them? Is it about expanding on them? I realize that might seem silly, but I have made myself some homework, I feel like. And soon, if I'm going to take this seriously, I need to structure my stones a bit better so they're usable.
Well, here's the positive side of it. So the way you're describing it sounds like it's a problem, but it's actually an opportunity. Do you ever have a time when you're writing a program or reading a book or writing letters, or you're sitting at your computer maybe, and you can't think of what to do next?
Sure.
Okay. Well, then you grab one of these lists of Fieldstones. Pick one and decide, oh, I'm going to keep this one. Oh, no, there's nothing there. I'm going to throw it away. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to flesh it out a little bit, write a little bit more about it. I'm going to decide, actually, I've got a category for it, and this is maybe fits in my technical leadership category. So I have a folder on my machine, and I move it in there, which is accomplishing something, right? All those things are moving things forward.
Yes.
And if you use time, then you weren't going to be doing anything anyway.
No, I would be wasting time on Twitter or some such thing.
Well, just so there's always something to do.
Yes. Now,
it advances your writing. It's always there. So when people talk about, and I put it in quotes, writer's block.
Yes.
Okay. I have a movie about that, an interview about that, and I've written about that. Writer's block is incredibly dumb trick or smart trick or something. See, it enables you, if you say you have writer's block, this is a way to be a writer and prove it because you're not writing anything.
Because you have writer's block.
Yeah, see, so I'm a writer because only writers have writer's block. So you look at me, I'm not writing anything, and you might think I'm not a writer, right? A lot of people in the world are not writing anything because they're not writers. But me, I'm not writing anything because I'm a writer. And I can brag to my friends about how I'm a writer. And it's just baloney because a real writer has always got something to do. I mean, you have ideas. I mean, if you never have any ideas, okay, then you're clearly not a writer. You're just a blank person, which is okay, if you want. But if you have ideas, you can just describe to me how you have stone piles, all kinds of undeveloped ideas. So you can never have writer's block.
I certainly don't. What I have is not taken the time to value the ideas, to organize them, to go back, to look at them, to say, am I creating an inventory of stones to build with someday?
You're making a mistake in your language again.
It happens so quickly, doesn't it?
Them. See, that's the mistake. Plural.
The them part?
One at a time. Right? You just have to take one.
I just have to take. So can I, maybe an example would help here for me. So did you work on any of your stones today, your field stones?
Yes. I did.
Okay, you did. And did it start small with a simple phrase or idea or something you captured?
Yes.
Okay. And did you decide to keep it?
Well, I decided not to throw it away yet.
Okay, so you haven't thrown it away yet. And can I just ask, what did you do today to it?
Okay, so what happened was yesterday, I had mentioned to my biographer at high school, one of the high schools I went to, was always saying how it was the second best high school in the United States.
It's a big claim.
That was their claim, and no supporting proof or anything else. And then over the years, I've heard a number of other people tell me, well, gee, I went to the second best high school in the United States.
Really?
A lot of people make that claim, I learned. And so it came up again because I mentioned that. And I have a friend who actually, his job is ranking high schools in Texas. All right. So I asked him about this claim, and he came back with a long note about it. And this long note became a Fieldstone.
Okay.
And put that away, and then I wasn't thinking about it until I was in bed last night, or this morning. I was thinking about it again. And then I thought about how an experience I had when I was at the university. And the university had a way, every year they would rank the departments, schools, and they'd tell you where you ranked among all the departments. Well, I had going at the time a lot of students in the programming class who were investigating various systems, and they cracked into the University computer and found out a number of interesting things. One of which was the way they did this ranking. Okay. And the way they do it is they had 6 different ranking algorithms, each from a different university somewhere in the United States. There was a Stanford ranking, and I can't remember where the others were. And they would get these data points from the different departments, like how many classes you had and how big they were, blah, 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 all kinds of numbers you could get, and stick it into the algorithms. They put it into all 6 algorithms, and then they would see where your department ranked in these 6 algorithms. And they would pick the one where you ranked the worst. And then they would send you a letter about this. So another department was ranked on another algorithm, and they were worse. So it was possible that every department could look really bad on some algorithm.
Right.
And so they could send out letters to all the departments, making them, like their idea, I guess, was that if you knew you weren't doing very well, you didn't rank very well, you would work harder or something.
It's a motivational tactic, it sounds like.
Whatever it was, I don't know, God only knows. Maybe it was just a punishment tactic. But we uncovered this and revealed it to the university, other departments, and there was a big hullabaloo over that.
I bet there was.
And so I was thinking about, I was reminded of that, and so I said, well, you know, there's a thing. This is a bureaucratic trick. All right?
Okay.
And the term bureaucratic trick stuck in my mind.
Mm.
I sat down this morning while I was waiting for this call to start, and I made up a larger Fieldstone, which actually is a couple of Fieldstones, called Bureaucratic Tricks. And I started thinking, I wrote a little bit about that one, which they also use the other way. If they want to if they have a favorite department, they can pick the one where it looks best.
Right.
So it works either way. It's a wonderful trick. And then I said, what other bureaucratic tricks do I know?
Mm-hmm.
And I put down a couple more, and then it was time for this call. So I now have a bigger Fieldstone, which has at least 4 examples of bureaucratic tricks. And where that will go next, I don't know. But it's,
Yeah.
And it may never see the light of day. It might be a blog entry. I might use it in my consulting,
Mm-hmm.
you know, where somebody is being tricked by bureaucracy. And whatever, I don't know. It doesn't have to know.
Yeah.
It's developed a little further, and I've captured it. And that was just now, just a few minutes ago.
Just a few. And so you thought about it, you expanded it, maybe you added some examples. You did not worry about where it would be used. That's clear.
I did not worry about whether it was written out very clearly.
Okay.
Enough for me to understand. And I may go back to it at any time. Could be fit in a book at some point, or could be it'll be a blog entry somewhere. In a lot of ways it could go. Could be all those things.
And is each, okay, so just purely from an organizational perspective, is each Fieldstone, is this a Word document or a text document on your computer with the name Fieldstone 10,005? Or...
Well, I don't use Word. I use Pages on the Mac.
Okay.
I can translate the Word.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can hear that barking in the background.
Sure.
My door should be closed, but it's not. going to take care of that, okay?
Okay.
How she should be doing it. Anyway, where were we?
We were talking about that you use Pages somehow to store your Fieldstones.
Yeah, I have a couple folders. I'll read you the names. I well, there are various stone piles depending on where things are. So I have a big folder that's called for e-booking. Okay, so I'm just going to bring it up here. I don't know, in front of your face. And in this are a number of folders, approximately maybe 20 folders of books I might be developing. Or, I'll just read you the titles of these.
Okay.
Autobiography, change challenges, consulting essays, creating a writer, essays on problem solving, programming essays, starting a project right, teaching stories, Teams book, testing essays, management books, notes for some novels, blogs to consolidate, which is in-process books. There's a book of Danny's that I'm going to publish. Psychology of Systems Design book, which short stories and a couple of fiction things. Right? So those things are fairly developed, but I have another thing called Articles in Progress.
Mm-hmm.
I'll open, and in there I have 3 major folders. Okay, one of which is already published. I'm keeping a record of articles that I've blogged or whatever, and that has about 20 things in it. And they may also be copied to other places. These are all Pages documents inside the folder.
Okay. Okay.
I have a smaller folder called Ready to Publish. These are Fieldstones that I've done some work with. They're in a form, I've done more writing with them. I'm in a form where I could put them up on a blog in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in there. And then I have one called Awaiting Revision. And these are the most raw Fieldstones. And this is where I have bureaucratic tricks. There's one, maybe 30 or 40 Fieldstones that are in here. And these are all in addition to the ones that are in those other folders, or where I know sort of what book it's going to go into.
Right, where you know where it'll be used.
Okay. So this is how I
Okay.
the stuff. Okay. There's and it's not necessarily done perfectly. For example, I have for a long time I thought I wanted to write a book called Going Out, a book about how to be happy even though you're smart.
Even though you're smart.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a little thing that probably ought to be in the books folder.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Smart But Happy, where I put in Fieldstones that have. So it's only a couple in there, so I isn't quite ready to go in the books thing.
Right.
more or less, partly what I'm trying to get across to you is that this is, when you're talking about organizing, it doesn't have to be rigid.
Yeah.
And so what happens with the system, I think I mentioned that in the book, is that people ask me how long does it take you to write a book or silly things like that, which they don't really know what they're asking. I mean, they're usually asking how long does it take to write down all the words in a book.
Yeah. You did mention that in the book.
In fact, sometimes I don't write a book. I discover a book. I'm looking through this stuff and I've got some spare time. And look at this folder. Well, look at all the things in that folder. So, for example, right now, I think I'm discovering in the e-booking folder, there's a folder called Creating a Writer. What to call it. This thing has, God, I don't know how many, I can't count them, at least more than 100.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
So there's a book there. If I just order another writing book, I'm not sure what to call it. And so it's kind of in my mind now as maybe, if I did come up with the right title or word, these are essays mostly about questions that wannabe writers have asked, like you're asking, and maybe hear some from you, I don't know. So for example, here's some of the titles. Getting started. Before the first novel. I mean, what do I have to do before? How do I choose the topics in my book? Counting words. Measuring progress by counting words. What about that? Fear of writing. Free writing.
Free writing?
Free writing. What about free writing? I use it.
Sure.
What should be my goals for writing? These are all getting started under another folder called Getting Started.
Getting started, yeah.
Many, many more in there. And then there's a folder on the mechanics of writing. Okay, so feedback to yourself. How long does it take to write a book? I hate the content of what I'm writing. The myth of writer's block, which we talked about. Should I use a pencil or a keyboard? Big question.
Yeah.
Reading versus doing as a way of learning from my book. Should I read other books or should I do certain? Where to get ideas?
Well, those all sound wonderful. So you can almost just assemble, well, you could choose some of those and have, now as you went through that.
I mean, there's another 70 or 80.
I was going to say, you said that there was so many. So one of the things in your book, again, another advertisement, buy the book, it's wonderful. You talk about where to mine stones, what to do with them, how to be prepared for them, how to watch for them, how to record for them. I am in the midst of just beginning on a very exciting part, which talks about an organizing principle. Now, I haven't finished those chapters because you say, I'm going to use an organizing principle of telling you how I organize the next few chapters. So I'm excited to read that. But you now have described many stones. You've sort of already thrown out one kind of organizing principle. Things at the beginning when we're started, things when we're stuck, right? We could do. Do you typically have just sort of see an overarching organizing principle? Maybe I'm asking a question. I should just read the book. That's clear. I just haven't gotten there yet.
Sometimes it comes out instantly. Sometimes Actually, that's the Fieldstone. It's just an idea. Like I ought to write a book about the psychology of computer programming. I didn't know what goes in there, but then I've got a category and I start throwing stones in there as they come up, and eventually, and then I say, okay, is it about this or isn't it about this? And eventually I have enough in there and have a book, and then I work on the internal organization. Like in this one I was just reading to you.
Yeah.
So far, I have, getting started, some of the mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
What about improving it? There's a section on there's a section. How do I get it published? Or where do I publish it? Should I publish it? And so on. And I don't even remember what all the categories are, but when I look in there, they're all there. So it's a sort of an organizational Fieldstone. There may be one that's for the whole thing. There may be a group of them which are sections of a book.
Mm-hmm.
This works for nonfiction. For fiction, it's different.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're writing fiction or not. So if you're not writing fiction, we don't go into that.
I'm not writing fiction. I don't know if our listeners who will watch are writing fiction.
Well, then the organizing principle for fiction for me is what scenes advance the story, and which things go in which scenes. All right, but there's also an underlying organization of the characters. Who are the people or dogs or aliens or whatever, or spaceships, which could be a character, right? And another one settings.
Mm-hmm.
Where are they? When are they? What's going on? And so on. But so it's different in a way, but in a way it's the same. You have categories and you throw things in there, and then eventually you look and go, I've got enough there. All I have to do is now I do the writing.
The writing down, yes.
And again, but the writing down, maybe it's just an attempt. I think the word essay is interesting. It's a verb as well as a noun, right? Essay, that means you attempt something.
Mm-hmm.
We don't use it much that way, but that's, that meaning.
I liked it when you said it. It seemed to, as soon as you had mentioned you have essays on software testing, I thought, well, that's a whole other interesting and not often as often used sort of idea of thoughts on something. Maybe they have a broad connecting structure, but maybe one to another they're not that connected even.
And we had well, let me back up. When you're writing programs, sometimes you're influenced. It was true in the early days. You're influenced by the restrictions of the hardware that you had.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A machine that had no secondary storage, very small memory, didn't have, read punch cards, and so on. And as you're writing programs on such a machine, you keep running into the fact that the machine sort of steers you in a certain direction with the way you design the program, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way as a Fieldstone, I just got right now, and for my design book, is how hardware limitations shape your design. And so I'm going to write it down for a second.
Yes. By the way, one of the tricks in the book is if you're uncomfortable, which Jerry's not, writing down something in the middle of the conversation, simply say, I'm going to make a note of that, and just do it.
Too big a problem for you, was it?
Was not, and no one's ever yelled at you, is what you'd say in the book, or gotten upset with you.
Okay, so I'll develop that, like we talked about. But so one of the things, hold up the book again. Right. Now, before we had these book things, what did we have? How did we write stuff down?
Scrolls?
Scrolls. Right on
papyrus paper, walls.
And before that, what did we have?
We had pictures on walls, maybe.
Maybe chiseled into the wall or anything.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we had painting in some sort of dye or blood or something. I don't know.
Songs.
Songs. Mm-hmm.
Or storytellers who memorize stories and all that.
Mm-hmm. Oral tradition. Maybe we drew in the dirt.
Yeah, each of these things put certain shape to your writing and what you could do. I mean, just like for Twitter, you had 140 characters or a tweet.
Right.
You just expanded that to 280, which I think was probably a mistake personally, but it's different. But there was a process you went through when you're going to make a tweet, getting it down to 140 characters. What am I wanting to say? And occasionally people would give a series of 10 tweets all linked one to the other,
sure.
Which we always ignore because that wasn't part of the game.
Yeah.
No, well, it was a way to game it. But in the same way, that book, hold up the book again. I didn't tell you to put it down. I said.
Sorry, my apologies.
The book, if you're going to publish this book, all right, it had to be a certain size or nobody would publish it.
The dimensions.
No, I mean, physically holds so many words. If let's say I had some really profound thing to say about writing, like I read you some of this, is I wanted to publish 3 Fieldstones, which were each 4 paragraphs. So I got 12 paragraphs, and it would change your whole career as a writer in a profound way. I couldn't publish it anywhere.
Right.
Because no publisher would do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it became this big game, a big issue in writing was, how do I get a publisher to pay attention to my writing? Otherwise, I could never see the light of day. Right? And so that's a big issue. There's earlier books on writing spent a lot of time telling you things about how to get the attention of an editor. Should do, shouldn't do. And I remember one time you send in your manuscript with a box of chocolates. And then I had some editor responses to what they would do if they got a box of chocolates for the manuscript and so on. How do you format the thing so the editor will pay attention to it?
Mm-hmm.
So on and so forth. Someone talked about using perfume on the manuscript. Right, all kinds of energy was devoted to this. Well, we're no longer in that time. We're still hung over a little from it. People still ask those questions, and somehow it's not a real book unless it's a book, physical book you can hold up to the screen like that, and so turn pages. But the fact is, we now have ebooks.
Mm-hmm.
And you can write an ebook that's 2 words long.
Absolutely.
How had you do that? You wrote an ebook that was, how long was it?
It was very short.
Well, very short for what? Was it long enough to get across the message that you had?
Oh, I'm putting the book down. Can I put the book down?
Put it down.
Okay. Yeah. In fact, as I recall, at least if it's the one I'm thinking of, I took some ideas from other blog posts, gave them a little bit of slight polish, put them in an ebook, and you said, there, now you're an author.
Now, what has happened since you did that?
Well, I've sold a few. Somebody decided it was worth some money.
Mm.
Some people said, A few people said it wasn't.
You could buy that nice hat.
I've roughly made enough to buy a nice hat. That's right. Not enough for the trip to Hawaii to pay for that, but the hat at least. Now I am, though, okay, I'll admit this, because I have actually said this to my wife. My next book will be a real book.
Uh-huh. See, that's still that old stuff that you've got.
A paper book you can hold. Now I want to show you what my son did the other day. He wrote, when he went to Australia for a month, he wrote and published a real book, because it's paper. It has a back and it has a bar. That makes it a real book, right? And every page just has one sentence on it. And so now he has published a realer.
Well, the ultimate of that was the book. I think I told you about this. That a few years ago it came out. It was a bestseller. It was called What Men Know About Women.
That was a bestseller, as I recall. It was. I don't know how many.
It's all blank pages.
All blank pages, yes.
It was bound up nicely. It was about that size. So there were ways to beating that system, like with the perfume or the chocolates. But nowadays, you don't have to do that.
Now,
you can put your thing out to the public on the web, for example, all right? On the web, or you could have a newsletter that you send out, or various things, all kinds of different ways. And it could be one word or 0 words or 2 words or 2 paragraphs or 2 chapters or 2 million words. See, now, if you want to publish something in the past with 2 million words, every publisher would reject this just based on size. We can't physically fit that into that format.
Right.
And they wouldn't even give it a second glance, right?
Even if it would have changed the world.
If it would have changed the world, they wouldn't know that, right? It's like today on the news, some FBI report came out about all that mishmash that's going on. And it was 500 pages long. And it came out this morning, and they were interviewing people. What did you think of it? It's like an hour later.
Right. And I bet some of those people asserted opinions about it.
Oh, they did. Yeah, that didn't bother their opinion. But the fact is, you can publish whatever form fits the ideas that you're trying to get across, the message that you're trying to get across. And so you have, instead of having to go through all this chocolates and perfume and so on, try to get the attention of some unknown editor in some unknown place, you could devote your time and energy and thought to how do I package this so that it contributes to the message I'm trying to send.
Okay. Let me ask you a question about that. You, best I can tell, you've published, well, I know you've published with Dorsett House. Quite a few of your books, actually, appear to be.
Let's see, I'll tell you the story of this one. I wrote it, and I thought, well, Dorsett House wasn't. They said that we don't do writing books, we do computer books. So they would publish it. They would always publish it. They weren't, because they always. So,
right.
But I said, I'll look around for someone who publishes things on writing. And I sent it to a place who had actually, I had read something, they're really seeking books on writing and so on. And I sent it to them, and I didn't hear back. I didn't hear back, which is one of the other things about that old system, was it could be months or even years before they even responded to you. And finally you get a postcard that says sorry. So
right.
After over a year, I got back in touch with the guy. And he said, oh yeah, whatever happened to that? Oh, it turned out he lost the manuscript.
No kidding.
Or that's what he said anyway.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to sit and wait for a year, wondering whether he lost it or didn't. Maybe he never got it. I don't know. So he looked at it and he said, well, he said, he doesn't see how anybody would buy it.
Mm.
Right? Well, I was not new to me. I had that before. Other books, Psychology of Computer Programming, for example, had wonderful reviews. And the publisher who published my earlier books on programming said, well, in their case, they they had just had a big loss of money. It's irrelevant to me, right? But they had given $1 million advance to someone who is writing the autobiography or biography of Howard Hughes.
Mm.
And they gave him the advance, and then Howard Hughes said he'd go to court to stop them publishing it because it wasn't. So they were out $1 million, and word came down, we don't take any new books now until we get this cleared up. And my book happened to fall into that category. So they sent me a note. It's very nice. This is a very nice book, but nobody would buy it. That was roughly 1 million copies ago. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
One of my several best-selling books. It turns out that of all the books I've published, only 5 have ever been rejected by a quote publisher of that. Right? Those are my 5 best-selling books. Okay. So I mean, you're sending this manuscript into a place where you think they really know about publishing, but I have strong evidence that's the one thing they really don't understand.
Oh, golly. Well, now, okay, so you do so much writing now, and I don't see you publishing with a publisher anymore. It seems like you're putting everything on LeanPub. Is that true, or do you find that or anticipate that you will use a publisher for some work in the future?
Well, here's the way. Well, LeanPub is a publisher.
Well, you're right. You're right.
That's even in their name, right? That's what the pub is.
Right in the name.
It doesn't stand for a drinking place. That's not that kind of pub, I think.
I probably should have said a physical book publisher, but I did not. So
Sure, maybe. But there's a lot of traditions in publishing too, different traditions. Anyway, what I've been doing lately is trying to modernize the way I publish my writing and where I produce my writing, actually. So I will put out, like I'm doing with this design book, which I had been sitting on for 50 years. Right? And you can see, if you look behind you, you look over that shoulder, you'll see a couple of folders here.
sure.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more over the other side you can't see, which have notes for the design book, which I've accumulated over 50 years. Talk about Fieldstone. So this goes back before I even had a computer.
Yeah.
And I've been gradually bringing them into my system, right? And I have enough for a 10 million page book or 10 million word book or something. And I have to go through organizing and bring it down. So what I decided to do is it's time to change my methods. So I put it up on LeanPub, several sections that were pretty well developed, and put it up for sale with the understanding if you buy it now, as new things are added, you'll get them free.
Right.
And in other words, people will buy in later when it's more stuff there, they'll pay a little more, so the price keeps going up. And in that way, I can develop the book and give feedback on the book while I'm developing it in this way. And I'm not restricted. I don't know how big it will be eventually. Maybe I'll break it into 2 volumes, or 3, or 7, or 20, or maybe it'll be 1. And it's working where I wanted it to. It's working fine. It also turns out that this is not really new idea. Charles Dickens, who was way up there on my list of authors, way up there, with Lewis Carroll and one or two others, he used to publish novels this way.
I remember you pointed that out when you published your book this way.
Yeah. He would put out a chapter a week, I think, every week in the newspaper. And people would line up at the newspaper office when the next chapter was due to find out what was happening to this character. And so, that was using what he had was the newspaper business to do this incremental thing. And then he stopped thinking about it. He said, gosh, that's what we're teaching people now about programming.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Incremental stuff. So that's what I've been doing now, as it fits. There's another reason. I publish a lot. I put most of my stuff is on physical books with Dorsett House and with other print-on-demand publishers like CreateSpace. So you can get physical books if you want them. There does seem to be a huge demand for physical books, well, at least of mine. I like physical books, that's the old timer, and I can hold it in my hand and read. But I also can read off a screen or whatever. But it's a new age, right? Just like computers generally opened up all kinds of possibilities to us. And so in my writing, I'm trying to do that. Now, I do not have, but you held up before, your phone. Is it your phone or whatever you take notes on? So, Apple phone. I don't have one of those. I don't spend much time on the telephone, as little as possible. I keep thinking I'll get rid of this phone because I get about one call a day, and it's almost always either a wrong number or somebody's selling me something. Or yesterday I got one that said this was from so-and-so opinion research. So I just said, well, I'm sorry, I don't have any opinions. But that's fun. I have one or two friends who like to use the telephone, and they call me and we talk. I would prefer to talk this way. Somehow to me, this is better than talking to you on the phone. I've talked to you on the phone.
Sure.
But this is, I can see your expression and see all those books in your background. And I go, oh, this is a smart guy. He knows how to buy books. I don't know if he knows how to read them or not. He knows how to hold them up, but so, somehow it's a little more dimensionality to it.
So, no, and I think I know the answer here, but there is, I'll just ask you, is this generally your advice for new authors, that they maybe don't fall into the trap of expecting to use old publishing methods these days?
Well, no, I guess my advice is more general. Is one thing that you must understand, about getting started writing. The thing you really need to understand is you.
Well, I don't know if I can say that I understand me yet, but I am
more. Now you've read this book.
I understand more about me.
You published your little short book.
Sure.
And you saw what your son published. I can do that, or if I want to, if it fits for me. But, that I wouldn't feel good about that. Fine. And you're learning about yourself and you go along, and you keep doing that. I've been writing since I was 4 years old, so that's 80 years of writing, and I've learned things every day about myself. Right? I learned as a section in the book about music. Some people like to write to music. Some like quiet. Some people like barking dogs in the background. I've learned about myself. What kind of writing fits with what kind of music? And again, with modern technology, I can have this music you know, in a way that the kings of countries 200 years ago, 100 years ago, could not have.
Right.
You know,
That's right.
and I want some Mozart. I can have it in 30 seconds.
In an instant.
Any Mozart I want, and played by different orchestras and different things. Or if I want some fiddle music, or I want, whatever. So I can have that. If I don't like the temperature in the room, I can change that. If I don't like this location, I can take, I do have an iPad, which I hardly ever use because it turned out it didn't fit very well for me. The keyboard doesn't work very well. I've tried Siri, which you apparently use. I have it on this machine. So far it's just confusing me. But I have to learn if I want to use it, maybe it'll fit for me. And so I learned to keep a tablet in the shower. That fits for me, may not fit for you. Maybe you don't take showers. I don't know. I can't smell you.
That's true. It's a limited bandwidth. There's only so many things you get.
If you showed me a perfume copy of my book, I wouldn't know it was perfume. Right? And if you send me chocolates, chocolates make me ill. So that would be a real bad thing to do. But I've learned that about myself, right?
Yeah.
So somebody sends me chocolates, I thank them and everything. And I don't tell them I'm not going to eat them, but I give them to somebody who really likes chocolates. And, so I keep learning about myself. And then the learning has to change too, because as you go through life, you change. And maybe now I like some other kind of music.
Mm-hmm.
Kinds of music that didn't exist when I was 4 years old. Nowadays, and certainly computers didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing you've got to focus on in your writing, is what am I like? What helps me write more, better, sharper?
I have one note about this very topic, and I wrote to myself yesterday. I seem to be interested in why things are more than what to do about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that is. Maybe I'm interested in that. But I've just, after a year of writing, sometimes I have to ask myself, is this helpful to anyone, or am I just exploring why? And that's okay too.
That's a great topic. That's what I've written about, should write more about. Virginia Satir would distinguish herself from other therapists. They say, she's like the Freudians. If you had something that you did, like smoked cigarettes,
right?
You wanted to stop smoking cigarettes, that you Freudian would go back into your toilet training days and everything, and try to figure out why do you smoke cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
Then somehow that would lead to you being able to stop smoking. Well, Virginia, that was not her approach. He said, okay, we just take what you got. Today you smoke cigarettes and you want to not smoke or not smoke so much. What do you do about it today that will change that behavior?
Right.
Wherever it came from.
Without going back 40 years.
Doesn't make any difference. It was interesting. I gave that example because I started getting it. I realized one of the things that I did for her was I gave her a way to stop smoking. She used to smoke. Eventually she died of cancer, which was probably because she smoked for a long time. But the last few years of her life, she didn't smoke anymore because I applied her own methods to her smoking thing. I don't know why she was smoking or what her toilet training was like or whatever.
Sure.
And so I've learned that finding out why things are the way they are sometimes leads you to understand how to solve a problem, how to change them, especially if the why is current, not back when you were 4 years old.
Right.
So if I go to an organization and they're doing a certain thing, why are they doing it now? Well, if it goes back, just ignore it. If it goes back to their toilet training, then that's one thing. But if it goes back to, I'll give you an example of this. When I first came to Switzerland to work, there was a couple guys, a couple programmers wanted to see me. They had an application that was running very, very slow. And it was, it was a daily thing, and it took pretty much a whole day to do it. And so, they thought I was the expert coming. I would show them how to make it go faster.
Sure.
So we came to look at it, and I looked, and the reason it was going so slow was it was reading from external device, from a disk drive, a bunch of short records, one at a time, a couple at a time. And, that's the slowest, can be the slowest part of the process. And so I looked at this, and they were blocking 4 records into a block. And then a couple of blocks would fit on one track of this disk drive, but they were constantly banging back and forth on the disk drive. So I said, why did you blocking them 4 to a block? Well, that's what we learned that from you. I've never seen you before. How'd you learn? They bring out one of my books and they show an example where I was teaching about blocking records, and it happened for that particular application, 4 records to a block.
Right.
But for their application, that was just exactly the wrong thing to do. So why were they doing it? In that case, we could find that out, and I said, okay, I'm here now. So you just have my book. So I'm telling you, that wasn't the right thing for your application. Let's block so that one block fits the whole track, and then we won't have any of this bang, bang. We had about 17 records or something, some strange number. The block that put it on the thing ran super fast.
I bet.
And of course, that was the next problem, because then they had a customer, this is a service bureau kind of thing, they had a customer who suddenly realizes they've been overcharging him for 2 years.
Well, that's a new problem, right?
But they solved that. And again, this is where the problem definition came in. They said, we brought this expert out from the United States just to look at your problem. And he figured out a very complex, technical way.
Yes, that's right. We paid a lot of money for that.
12 seconds or something. All right, so why? Sometimes it's a why, and sometimes it's something else. Right?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Thank you, Jerry. And if you're listening, if you have questions, you can write to me.
Calling me, because I have to try this. Hello. Hello.
You can write into Marcus at marcusblanketship.com, and we'll address your question on the air. Thanks for joining us.
That was a recording. See?
That wasn't even a person, huh?
Even a person, but she sounded like a person. And she said, my name is so-and-so and so-and-so. I'm from the Microsoft, blah, blah. Hang up.
Hang up. Hang up. That's right.
That's my phone life.
Well, it leaves you lots of time for writing. Okay, we're going to hang up now. Great to talk to you. And I think this was maybe useful for people. So let's put it on YouTube and see what happens, shall we?
Okay, and next time, are you going to have a list of questions?
I might. Okay. Is that a prerequisite to talking?
No, I just wondered. I have to be prepared.
Well, you're always prepared, and it's always a joy. So I appreciate it. I will consider whether or not I'm able to put together the time to put together some questions that make sense. But in the meantime, if go buy the book, Jerry, thank you again, and have a wonderful week.
People can't read it. Hold it still.
There it is.
Good.
Okay. All right.
Either in this form or as an ebook.
As an ebook, the modern way.
You can get it on as a Kindle book from Amazon, or you can get it from LeanPub and a few other places. I get paid more when you got it from LeanPub. They're more generous with their royalties than Amazon.
I've heard that. And there's lots of great pictures of you in the book as well, which I enjoyed. So